This takes a second to hit red. Yeah. It actually takes longer lately. I guess out here. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. See, it's not on yet.
Yeah, it did take a little bit while.
Yeah, last time I think we started and then it clicked. Okay, here we go. All right. Welcome to the Shop Class Podcast. Tonight, we got a special guest, last minute guest, John Stack. How you doing?
I'm great, thanks.
All right. And Duke, let us know if the sound is good.
All right, sounds good. Let's go.
All right. And Duke's here. Say hi, Duke. How you doing?
What's going on?
All right.
I actually don't feel so bad. I was in school yesterday, so I was on a little bit of vacation. But you always got to stay connected. You have to keep your one toe in the pool just to see what's going on.
You know what? On the summers that I didn't check in, like at least check the email once or go to the shop at least once. That September is like falling off a cliff. You're like, oh my God, there's so many teenagers here. It's crazy. Or the equipment is everywhere. You're like, I can't believe I left this out all summer. Like, what? You know?
They like wax the floors and like everything's in disarray, and you're like, oh, I got kids coming tomorrow. I gotta fix something.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So that might happen to me this summer because I'm in California the rest of the time. So, but I've been checking email and they ordered a couple cool things. I'm getting a CNC plasma cutter.
Wow. Okay.
The smallest Bailey one. It's just, I have the plasma cutter, but it's just what moves it around, and you could cut like 1/8-inch plate or whatever. So that's cool for parts. Then we can bend them and make it into 3-dimensional things. And then we might get a CNC a cutter, like a milling, but super small, a Tormac 440. I could pull that up. You know, I don't know. Have you ever seen the Tormac 440, Duke?
Nope.
And we'll get to the interview in a sec. We'll just let me share my screen for a sec. Actually, you know what? We'll get to that at the end. Let's get to the interview because this is John's time right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So John took my electric car class. I did one out here, and he wants to convert. I guess you want to convert a car from gas to electric or look into it.
I'm thinking about converting a 914.
Oh, perfect. We got Mark over there. Have you
No,
talked to Mark?
I have talked to Mark.
All right. We're going to show you all this situation. So we are. Yeah.
Ron, you jumped into it too quick.
Oh, yes. Okay.
You already forgot about the first question.
Yes. Duke, thank you. Always reminds me I forgot. The first question.
We know he took your class.
Yeah.
But the first question.
Yes. The first question is, did you have shop class growing up?
I did, and it was one of my favorite. For two reasons. First of all, I knew the instructor because my mother was a high school teacher. And the second reason was, you know, it was just, I got exposed to a whole bunch of stuff, and it sparked something in me in terms of working with my hands. My dad, I could only hold tools and hand them to my father. And in this case, I got to do stuff. And we made a barbecue grill, welded up bent the metal and rolled the metal and welded up the grill part, and got burned on my wrist by the welder. I remember that, but it was a great class.
That's awesome.
It was a great class.
And Duke, how's the sound? Everything cool?
Everything's good, yeah. And those are a lot of the points we talk about every week on here, exposing students to things they may not be exposed to before, sparking interests. So,
well, we were talking about something before the video started, which is, I know a lot of engineering students, and I always tend to talk to them a lot, ask them, well, what are you interested in? They say, I want to be an engineer. And I'm like, what kind? Automotive engineer. Well, do you know how they work? No. Do you know what they do? No. Do you? what have you done to connect, wanting to be an automotive engineer, work on cars or design cars or what part of it that do you want to do? And a lot of times they can't answer the question. And the reason why is they haven't been exposed. And I don't know if it's a matter of them not willing to envision the next step, which is you're going to work eventually. Have you talked to engineers that do this for a living? Have you at least gone out and talked to a car builder or somebody even repairing it? Ask a repair guy, how how many problems do you run into that you feel that the factory could have done a better job on? Because they're taking something made in a factory and fixing it or making it better. And a lot of the kids aren't either, they need to be shown something to pique their curiosity, right? Either like an exposure class, how to build an EV, which is this class I took mainly for kids, but I think there was one parent, one kid there. So it was a lot of adults and a lot of people that wanted to build EVs. Mm-hmm. Me, I took it just to meet some folks and I knew the subject material. But I also have a friend who wants to convert, I think, his VW thing to an EV.
Oh, nice.
And so I said, well, you got to start with this class. And then maybe I'll be your guide from here out. So, but going back to what I was saying is, he didn't know. He didn't know the connectivity. Right. Mm-hmm. I mean, so it's not a student problem. It's that they can't a lot of times seem to take the first step, draw some conclusions and generate enough curiosity to take more steps. Right. Mm-hmm. So you were asking me why did I become an engineer? I fell into it. Okay. I wanted to be an engineer, and I also didn't know why I wanted to be an engineer. I wanted to be an electrical engineer and work on electronics. The reason why was I grew up in Iowa, weren't exposed to a lot of things, but there was a big factory 3 miles away called Collins Radio. Okay. They're now Rockwell, and they do shuttle stuff, and I worked there. I earned money for college working soldering.
Wow, no kidding.
Yeah, on altimeters, believe it or not.
Wow, really? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I hate to fly in any of those planes, but so anyway, I was interested in engineering because I was like, well, I can't sit and be a factory worker for 8 hours and do the same thing every day. And along the way, I got bored enough to say, I saw a kid that I graduated from high school with, and he was a production expediter. And so he chased parts to keep the assembly line running. Okay. I got exposed to that. I said, your job looks fun because you get to run around through the entire factory. I want to see the entire factory.
Interesting.
I want to see what everyone does, and I want to see how all of this flows.
Oh, and then you get to see here. You probably see all the bottlenecks.
All the bottlenecks.
That's actually interesting. So then you're exposed to like the biggest problems.
The biggest problems. And so I ended up leaving the assembly line, working as a production expediter, saving money for college. I worked for a guy named Colonel Clint Roby. Huh. I couldn't get the job, and I parked outside by his car every day for 3 weeks. Because he didn't know me from Adam. And finally he said, I thought about you the other day, as he's walking out to his car. I thought about you the other day, and I was thinking about what qualities you might have to work for me. And you're tenacious. If you're going to sit out waiting for me after when I get off work to try to get
Wow,
a job,
like a celebrity.
I guess you're going to also be tenacious enough to get the parts for the lines that I run.
Okay.
There. So I got the job as that, understood all the bill of materials, and then I went off to college as a double E and
Okay.
failed miserably on the math.
All right. Okay. This is a big fear. A lot of people are fearful of the math. I'm me one of them.
And so I had to drop engineering and take what they call pre-engineering, which is business management. I have a degree in finance
Okay.
and an MBA,
Okay.
but I'm an engineer.
All right. Fair enough.
The
Okay.
reason why I'm an engineer is because I still just followed my nose, meaning my senior year in college, I figured out how the business computer game worked,
Okay.
business strategy computer game. And that was an Excel spreadsheet. Started to code the spreadsheet, started to do more on the computer. And guess what? I ended up going, this is kind of cool. I can program stuff.
Okay. Wait, so when you say game, an actual game, or do you mean
It was a computer game,
Oh, okay.
and we're competing against other students in class on, figured out the inputs for, it was figure out, we had all competing factories, and they, it was business strategy on how much to build given.
And this was a game that you coded?
No, this was a game I figured out.
Ah, okay. All right.
And we won. My partner and I beat the class.
Okay.
We were judged weekly on the business strategy,
Yeah.
So we'd decide how many things to produce at what price. And there were business conditions driving
This is like
that strategy.
Did you ever see Back to School?
No.
Oh God. I'm sure Nick's here too. How you doing, Nick?
Hi, Nick.
Do you ever see Back to School when they're talking about building a widget?
Yeah.
So we were building, actually, they called it widgets.
Yeah.
You were just producing X number of widgets at a certain price, right? And we sat and modeled, my partner and I modeled the first 3 weeks. We had everybody's inputs. We had everybody's results. And we mimicked the game, which was on a mainframe.
Okay. Mainframe's a big computer.
In a spreadsheet.
For the young kids in the room.
So we took everything we learned about the game that we couldn't control,
right,
and tried to model it in a spreadsheet.
Okay.
And we beat the game.
Nice.
So in the 5th week out of 10 weeks, we won every game every week after that.
Wow. Nice.
So,
really? Okay. And wait, this is at college, or this
was in college.
Okay.
So
the
at that
professor
point,
probably wasn't happy with you.
No, actually the game developer,
because you're not supposed to win.
The school bought the game from a game developer, and the game developer contacted us.
Okay.
And said, did you hack the game?
You beat the game. This is
did you hack?
The CIA shows up when you
have access to the mainframe? They thought we were cheating.
Okay.
Did you have access to the mainframe? No. Well, we did, but not to that game. And we didn't hack it. We modeled it. We figured out what the game was doing.
Wow.
Based on, which meant that the game might not have been very good.
Yeah.
Or at least the logic behind the game.
Okay.
So it was embarrassing for them, but my buddy and I got an A in class.
And a job offer, right?
No.
Okay.
So, and from there, PCs were starting to pick off. So I went and got a job at a computer shop and started on Macs, and then got involved on PCs and building them. And then I just followed my nose.
Yeah.
One of our biggest customers was the university, and they would buy, like a spectrometer that would hook up to a PC, but the professor couldn't figure out how to do it, and it was well past the sale of the PC.
Okay.
So some professors would call me and say, can you hook these up? Can you make the software run? And I'd sit and figure it out, and did a lot of device stuff, interfaces. I coded interfaces after I graduated from college, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I went from there to being a system administrator for a lot of mainframes.
So this is the full story from
It's
did you have
just-
shop class, and then you jump to the next question, which is how did you get to where you are now?
I followed my nose. I've been curious
That's
about
good.
everything, and I've been lucky enough to either go, hey, I want to do this, I want to try this,
Yeah.
and then something happens. I mean,
Yeah, that's cool.
or I have a problem. I mean, my most recent problem is we're inundated with rats and rabbits at our house.
Okay.
And the rats have killed the garden. Anything that grows that they can chew
Right.
is gone. Gone. And so,
You can't hack them. Are you going to hack
well,
them?
3 years ago, so there's some software called OpenCV, and they have strong integration with some artificial intelligence product called
You're going to use AI against the rats and the.
Get This. So yeah, it's insane. But I'm very curious, right? So I've gotten as far as I've got a rabbit recognizer.
What?
Yes.
Visual?
So aim a camera at a rabbit, and if it's in the yard,
All right.
I get an audible alert.
And does it aim a gun at it and shoot it?
Well, so here's as far as I've gotten there.
And if it
Okay.
does, don't tell me.
I can control.
What's your mistake rate? What if it sees the wrong thing?
Well,
Wait, let me hit pause for a second.
Yeah.
We got somebody in the room I want to welcome. My man from down under. I think I saw him. He's got a brace on his neck or something. How you doing?
Not bad, right?
What happened to you?
I've had surgery on my spine.
Oh my God, are you okay?
Yeah, I've had squeezing on the nerves in my hands until for years and years and years, and I finally decided to go ahead with the surgery, and they've just basically drilled out the bone on both sides at 2 levels.
Wow. He's coming in from Australia.
so somewhere around C3,
C5, 6, and 6, 7 on both
So
sides.
I have C5, 6 fused. I know exactly what you've gone through. You'll
They said if they wanted to go the fusing route, they had to go from 2 right down to 7 because my neck's messed up.
Oh shit.
So they said we'll do this first because that's where my worst impacting on the nerves was.
Yeah.
So it's like
So you have a complex nerve bundle coming out of C5 and 6.
Yeah.
And the other thing about that, so I'm a geek. Okay. The other thing about
That's
that,
good.
they did the right thing because 5 and 6, there's this nerve bundle, but there's a nerve that goes like this called your phrenic nerve that goes to your heart. So yeah, keeping your heart going and keeping that nerve bundle okay from your spine is a good thing.
Definitely.
So yeah, so good.
Wow.
So
Glad you're recovering. Good to see you. Thanks for joining in.
How long are you in the breeze for?
6 weeks in the brace. I only really need it if I'm going to get up and move around, but I've just been for a walk. And so I came back into the room and went, I'll just leave it on for a bit because my neck's been feeling a bit sore trying to hold my head up.
Are you feeling any grind in your neck a little bit?
No, I used to.
Oh, lucky.
Well, my neck actually doesn't move very much at the moment. It's still really, really tight in the muscles from the surgery and through my shoulders. So that'll take a bit of loosening up. But after having 15 years of pain and numbness, I'm going to look forward to that hopefully disappearing.
It will. Trust me. I can feel things with my fingers again. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
It'll be good. Nothing worse than working in the shop with the kids and you cut yourself, and the kids are the ones who tell you that you cut yourself. So.
Oh boy, yeah. And me, I type, right? So do a lot of programming, and I couldn't feel the keys.
Wow.
So yeah,
Interesting.
I was going through the same thing, but like since May, I went from like having felt like a pinched nerve on my shoulder blade, and then it went down through the nerve to my pinky and my ring finger, and it felt like my hand was sleeping. So there was a period for a couple of weeks I was constantly doing that.
Yeah.
And went to the doctor. They gave me a steroid pack, physical therapy, saw a chiropractor. So I'm still in I still can't feel my pinky finger. But I just saw the next specialist because I have bulging discs, herniated discs from C2 to C7. But just saw the specialist yesterday, and I have to get an EMG, to check the pathways of the nerve. But he actually thinks it's like carpal tunnel syndrome, but up towards my forearm instead of near your wrist.
Could happen. Yeah. Well, let's hope it's only that.
Yeah. Sports, the body takes abuse. But that's like that one doctor said because of the MRI, you have a bone spur. But the specialist is like, everybody has bone spurs in there. He's like, after you hit 16 or 17, it's all downhill.
Wow. Man,
Hang in there.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I haven't had this stuff, but I did have sciatic nerve stuff, and but I gotta stretch. If I don't stretch, it all just tightens up and becomes a problem. Nick, how you feeling? We're checking everybody's vital signs here. Nick's a fireman, man. He runs. It doesn't matter how he feels. He has to run into he's a shop teacher and a fireman. So they can call him at any time.
I'm doing fine. I was up with my parents taking care of them. So.
All right.
Well, where are you from?
In between Albany and New York City.
New York State.
Where specifically? That's a big
town. Literally in between. So the Kingston area. Like when you go Albany's up here and New York City.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll pull up the map. Go right to his front driveway.
Ron's gonna set a pin on his Grumman he has in the backyard.
So I moved to California from Boston, so that's why I asked. I've spent some time in New York, all over the place, so definitely have to look. So I'm following my nose.
Yeah.
Okay. But
wait, let me ask you a question.
Yeah. Will I kill the rabbits?
No. But before we breeze over, it seems like you value working with your hands and doing the research. And there's this stigma that shop teachers are fighting all the time, which is that they try and push everybody towards academics, but yet they take away the hand tools and they take away all the three-dimensional stuff. And so what I would ask you is, what would you say to a school or a guidance counselor that is trying to get rid of a shop program or doesn't understand the value? Yeah, like how would you present that as a value? Because a lot of parents and schools, because shop teachers, it's optional to have us there. And a lot of them in the 90s, they closed as many as they could. Now it's starting to come back a little.
Yeah.
So what would you say about the value of working with your hands and learning through failure and stuff like that?
Okay.
Hold on. Before you answer that question, too, to go along with that, in the academic world, now you hear they want everyone to become an engineer. And like you were saying before, what kind of engineer? It's just, look, your guidance counselor tell you want to be an engineer. You're good at math, you're good at science, become an engineer. What kind?
Well, so I would offer out that if they want to find out what kind of engineer they're going to be, and this is first for engineers, right? Because there's a whole other population, but let's talk about engineers and solve that problem, which is if you're going to find out what kind of engineer you're going to be, a shop class is the best place to learn primarily because it touches on literally everything. You brought up a Tormac website, you're getting a five-axis CNC machine. Okay, you're getting a computerized plasma cutter, right? CNC plasma cutter. Well, all of those things have a huge number of components and a huge number of disciplines that end up making that machine. You've got a mechanical engineer, you've got an electronics engineer for the controller board, you have a design engineer that's doing interfaces wherever you're doing, that board runs Grable, so you have a computer programmer.
Grable, is that the program?
Yeah. Yeah. So you're going to have all of these different disciplines that end up building these devices that you end up using in your shop. Even like, how many of you guys have a motorized bead roller in your shop?
Oh, mine's not motorized, but I've seen them.
So
yeah,
so
I
with
got a hand crank.
you have a
for
variable
sheet metal.
You have a variable speed DC motor there, and so
Right.
I guess what I'm saying is all of the components that make up your shops also represent, hundreds of different disciplines and many, many different types of engineers in order to get those devices out the door. And then all the other careers, if you want to roll it up and you go, let's take one step back to the factory and go, these things have to be produced. Who's going to produce them? Well, you're not smart enough. I said my math was shitty, right? I mean, I had to, there's a good student, there's a bad student, and there's an unmotivated student. And there are three different, I was the unmotivated one. And
Okay.
I was a good student when I was motivated. Okay. And I was a bad student when I wasn't. But I just wasn't motivated. Nothing interests me, and I didn't get any pleasure. Now I had to find it in myself to be interested in everything that I didn't know, right? So from that perspective, now I'm like, okay, I need to know how this works. And a lot of that is unfortunately a rabbit hole for me. I mean, I'll dive deep and the house could be burning down around me and I'll still be focused on something.
Yeah.
Over time, I think that curiosity builds in you. Okay. Now, a lot of kids aren't that way. I mean, a lot of people are in, their 8-to-5 job, and then they have so many other things that are taking them away. But at least during their jobs, hopefully they're intellectually curious to do a good job and dive deeper, and it's not just a job to them. Okay? So for me, I mean, I might be wired a little bit differently, but
well, everyone's different.
I got wonderful exposure at Collins Radio, and you know, when I was 19.
Yeah.
I worked in a factory when I was 19, and I was exposed to tons and tons of stuff that I didn't really understand. And I really didn't understand until I got to college, and then, you know, went on from there and gained additional exposure. But
So, yeah. So the shop classes have the equipment and the challenges that represent a broad spectrum of engineering. And if we took that away, it would be hard to just read about that. Would that be a good assessment?
you can't just read about it.
Bam! There we go.
You
He
can't.
said it.
You
You
can't.
can't just read about it.
No,
But
because
I want to read how to ride a bike.
Yeah,
do
you can't read how to ride a bicycle.
so there's another, and maybe a lot of people are lacking this these days because they're so, this is a wrong term, disintermediated, meaning they have too many inputs and they can't just process everything. But, you know, there was a time and place where empathy mattered, and you tried to understand, you know, how that guy did that,
Mm-hmm.
and what is that guy going through,
Mm-hmm.
and what did that guy do to be able to do that?
Mm-hmm.
What did they learn? And I think there's a lot of that lacking these days.
Yeah, nobody cares. They're
You
just
know.
like, next.
I mean, but also, you know, I value, maybe because of my background, you know, I value the janitor.
Yeah,
You know, everybody has a value,
yeah.
and understanding what they do, and I think is just really important. And, you know, I was going to ask you, are you a volunteer fireman, or are you paid
Volunteer. I've
volunteer?
been volunteer since I was 17.
That's just really cool. Having been in a fire and volunteers showed up,
Wow.
I have a special appreciation for that. You know, I was at a house, and on New Year's Eve, I got there late, and I walked in the door, and I smelled the wrong kind of smoke.
Uh-huh.
Even though the fireplace was going, it's winter in New Hampshire, and I'm like, no, this smells like burning electrical.
Oh,
And it
wow.
turns out that there was burning electrical wires in the floor. We called the fire department because we started to see smoke come out.
Whoa.
And this is in Washington, New Hampshire. Washington is not close to anything. It's
Oh, wow. Okay.
35 miles away from everything. And, you know, they're serviced by volunteer fire department. Well, the local one showed up right away, and there were 13 fire trucks lined up down the road from all the surrounding communities.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just blown away.
Wow,
by
that's
that.
awesome.
I mean, they came right in, cut a hole in the floor, put it out, turned off it was a wiring problem.
Wow.
They had just had some wiring done there.
Uh-huh.
But
The breaker was
yeah,
that person, the electrical person, didn't take shop class.
the guy around the corner who drank a lot didn't take shop class, evidently.
Yeah. That's
So-
something I do. I'll burn a wire on purpose, and that's why we blow the fuse in there in that class.
Well, so you're touching on something really important. If classes are being canceled, you know, I don't know. I mean, you know, what are you going to do for meals when you're an adult? Are you going to eat out all the time? No, you're going to learn how to fix at least a few things. You're going to do the same thing in your house. You're going to do, you know, and even just the basics touches what
Fixing
what
stuff.
you guys do.
Yeah.
Okay. So I feel very strongly about that. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I've been blessed to, you know, be able to follow my nose. I've gotten really lucky professionally that, you know, I've been given jobs to do research, you know, they're like, Stack, you seem pretty good at learning new things.
Uh-huh.
Go learn this for us,
Right.
or something. I've been lucky that way, and I've just kind of followed that after having those types of jobs.
I always like asking a person of your caliber, because sometimes if you get, let's say you get somebody who's just a carpenter, the outside perspective is, okay, that person, they put them in a category. Oh, that person couldn't do college, so they make all these excuses. But then when you get somebody who's done both, and they say, no, actually, you could use both, and it's an advantage. So then their arguments these academics who are pure academics, they have no argument against somebody who is an academic and also can do the hands-on. I mean, it just evaporates. And so that's why I always make sure that there's an opportunity talking to a person like you. I'm like, hey, what do you think? And most of our guests who have this dual background, they all say the same thing. It's invaluable. This is where the shop class has to be. So we're kind of preaching to the choir, but I want to document all this stuff, and maybe it'll help build confidence with shop teachers, schools that watch this, or let's say a student who maybe wants to learn about what is the path of an engineer. So I think it's valuable to everyone. That's why I asked these questions.
Yeah, and what I found is, it feeds. Here's a great story. Okay, so this kind of sums it up, and sums up a lot of my career. In 2015, I took a job at a British aerospace manufacturer. My wife worked for them. She ran a plant for them. Okay,
Wow.
and here in San Diego, and I met some of the people informally, and then I said, well, I need a gig. I'd like to find out a little bit more about aerospace, because my wife does this, and I have a broad IT background. So, can you use a project manager? I'll just try it. Part-time. I'll take a part-time project management job. I don't care. I just want to learn more.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went in. This project was broken, which I'm really good at fixing broken projects. Fix the project by firing some contractors and things like that. Anyway, what ended up happening was they said, okay, that project's almost wound up. We just bought 9 manufacturing plants, and we want you to run the integration of all of those plants into our organization. And it looks like, based on your resume, it looks like you might be able to do it.
Wow.
So every single plant integration moving from one company to the next was 25 projects. And this extended from any technology that plugged in anywhere. So the CNC machines, the alarm systems, the key card, the doors, the security, the MRP system to track bill of materials and workflow of all the products.
What's MRP?
Manufacturing requirements planning.
Are you guys taking notes?
So when you build something, it's broken down into a series of steps and inputs: labor, materials, and process.
Yeah.
Okay, and those move through the factory.
Right.
And there are MRP systems, or they call them ERP as well, enterprise resource planning, where all of this stuff is tracked. So you talk about disciplines, all of this rolls through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have a process engineer, you have you have all sorts of people that make up a factory beyond, especially in aerospace, beyond just the guys that are turning a wrench or running, a CNC machine. Mm-hmm. There's the QA, there's everything, and you can illustrate all that. So long story short, I have 9 plants to integrate. 13,000 employees.
Okay.
They must have really liked me because I had about a $35 million budget to do all of this, and it lasted 3 years.
Wow.
Okay, and the great part about it was for me is because I've been intellectually curious on all this different stuff about enterprise, about business, about engineering. I could go out to the shop floor and talk to the CNC guy and go, where are you storing your files? Where are you storing your G code?
Okay.
Okay. Is it in the cloud? Is it on the server here? Do you keep it on a thumb drive? I got to know.
Okay.
Okay. Because my job is that whatever I'm doing to integrate you into the new company, I can't present any manufacturing outages as a result of knowing, as a result of moving you into the new company. I can't stop you from doing your job because the company loses money if I do.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so you think of a whole factory and doing that, then you're talking about, maybe a little pressure, but
Yeah.
but beyond that, what I was really lucky about was I had experience in all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
I was really lucky to work in a factory when I was young.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
But I mean, going from there to IBM and all of this
Wow.
other stuff, and failing in math and having a degree in finance means I knew the accounting systems and
Yeah.
the impacts. And so I got lucky that for 3 years at least I had done something that touched on every single part of my career and everything that I learned. And it was payback, I think, or very rewarding to go. Being a little bit intellectually curious about all these things really helped me later.
Wow.
Okay. And I was well paid. I mean,
Yeah.
that was a bonus, but I was having fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, if they made my house payment and put food in my refrigerator, I'd probably still be doing it, right?
Yeah.
I it wasn't the money. It was like I loved it.
That's cool. Now, how do you manage something like that? Do you have a team underneath you?
So I had a combination of what they called matrixed employees. So they didn't work. They didn't work.
I knew it.
Yeah,
We're in the
it
matrix.
was in the matrix. So a lot of organizations have teams with specialties, and they lend you people. That's kind of their part-time job.
Okay.
To help you on this project.
Okay.
They have the expertise. I had contractors for some of it, and so I'd have to hire contractors, qualify them, see whether or not they were qualified to do it, give them the project plan, manage their project managers,
Wow.
and so every plant assimilation is about, just for the technology, is about 40 different projects, 25 to 40 depending.
Wow, that's amazing.
So it's, and also they all start at different times and other things have to be done. So there's this big Gantt chart in the sky of all these lines going through, well, this has to start after this. And it's the same thing in a shop.
Yeah.
You're building something, you have to start on one thing, and you start a 24-hour 3D print job today because you're going to need the part tomorrow.
Right. Timing.
All the timing.
Yeah.
And there's a discipline there.
Wow.
So the shop teacher, you can lay out all of that, the objective here for teaching shop, I think, is to teach some exposure to what they're going to be exposed to later. It's all real life.
Right.
And it all matters. I mean, people have jobs, you can, you can put the number of bodies into your shop, into your shops, for the number of people it took to get the things that are in your shop.
Yeah, it would be a
Yeah.
huge number of people.
Right? The
Yeah.
Army. And
Yeah.
that's the thing that you have to tell the guidance counselor, right?
Yeah.
And you can provide that connectivity to any young student.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow. Do you guys run any kind of manufacturing projects where you repeat stuff, or do you and even if you do one single project, I guess, do you have like stages set up? Does anybody do that?
Years ago, we used to mass produce a project because we used to teach the difference between mass production and craft production.
Right.
We just don't have the time for it anymore. But you'd have the individual kids making each one of the parts, but then every day you'd switch it up. So it doesn't get boring and repetitive for them, and that's why we try to avoid mass production, and we use the craft production instead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I mostly do craft. So like, I hit them with a challenge. They have to make something, hit some sort of minimum, but then there's a competitive open side of it. But there's no I would like to do like everybody's working towards an end result, but individually. So like I'll say, like let's say we do our intro project. It's a flashlight. So you say, okay, you take the flashlight. It's got to turn on. It's got to drop 5 feet, pick it up, and then put it on the scale. And then also measure the lumens. Okay, these are all minimums, and then put it on the scale. And the one who survived all that with the least amount of grams is the winner.
Perfect.
Yeah, but however, the next step would be, how do you make 2 of them, or how do you make 100? That would be interesting. I haven't gone to that level yet. But we could with CNC, and so that would be pretty cool.
Especially the lesson on a CNC machine, and you go to most machine shops, they'll tell you, they want to keep that machine running 24 hours a day.
Like
the reason why is because they're so damned expensive.
Right.
So the cost, they're not making money on a CNC. Nobody is getting ROI on a CNC machine that's only running 3 hours a day.
Right.
Okay. Nobody. You look at these big Haas machines, right, that are the size of this office, which is 10 by 12, or 8 by.
Yeah, I could see that.
8 by 10 Haas machine, 5-axis with automatic tool loading as an example.
Yeah.
You're talking about a massive investment that if they're not running that machine, 18 hours a day, they're not getting their ROI.
Right.
And then, and in the costing for any project, they're looking at all that to flow out a cost to the beam counters, so that they can say how expensive a part is, right?
Right.
So all of that, we talk about multi-disciplines. I mean, you can talk the connectivity between your shop and real life on all the different jobs, even if they fail bending a piece of metal or soldering something, you could still connect them to a career. Okay, or hundreds of careers.
Right.
So,
Nick, do you do any production type stuff?
No, it's more craft. We just don't have enough kids in the class to, pick an assignment and then run through the whole manufacturing process.
Okay. All right. So, how are you doing there? Do you guys do craft down or do your production?
I do. We'll try and do a bit of production with the construction class if there's like a big project. You break them into teams and you do this bit, you do this bit, we'll try and assemble something up. Sometimes we've done production style projects in our junior STEM classes where you again, you break them up into teams. Designing a city, this is the group that's doing the production of the transport hub, and this is the group that's doing the buildings, and so they've all got to coordinate with each other to know when everything needs to be done by.
Avoiding trade interference and all of those things.
I remember we used to try and do production toolboxes years ago. You know, one group would do all the handles, one group would do the end pieces, one group would do the base, but then you'd have kids always. There's always that one kid who would try and find the best pieces for his own project and bugger all the rest.
That's funny. Let me ask you a question. Have you? I'm sure you have. But do you know Richard Deming, or Deming, the Toyota method of production? You know what I'm talking about?
You mean Six Sigma?
That's probably it. Let me see. Deming production. Because there's a guy who William Deming. He went to this guy. He went to Japan after World War II because in the States they didn't want to listen to him. So he's like, okay, I'll just do consulting over there. And he went over there and he explained to them.
So the Toyota way is about Six Sigma.
Okay. Yeah.
And Six Sigma is it's layers and layers of marketing and wrap, but it's so when an organization has Six Sigma, they call it an operating system. So every organization, especially in aerospace and a lot of others, of course, you know, they do other manufacturing operating systems, but Six Sigma is very popular. ISO is another. All the you've probably gone by buildings that's factories that say we're ISO 9012 or something like that, you know. And what they're doing is they're building what's called an operating system. It's really a series of policies and steps to production. Okay. Six Sigma is very, very involved, but it's also, you can ask me a lot about Six Sigma because I wrote a book and never published it about it because my wife is really into Six Sigma. There's a lot of cool steps in Six Sigma. Okay. For example, a production supervisor, and you know, that doesn't do a Genchi Genbutsu walk. Okay, go out and see the shop floor and understand the problems. And understand the people.
Get on the shop floor.
Get on the shop floor.
Yeah.
So executives are trained to do this. Okay? My wife has a walk around. She's now director of operations for a aerospace forging company in Irvine.
Oh wow!
And you know, they have a process to get out and walk. When you tell your students, you know, that the only way to learn what you really want to do in life, and you may not know, you might want to do lots of different things, you know, but you know, if you want to find out opportunities of things that you may want to do for a living, Genchi Genbutsu, go out and see. Okay. And you know, that's part of Six Sigma. There are other steps, but you know, so there's 6 realms of operation starting from the customer, all extending and having a quality overlay to all of this. So that the objective is to build quality parts on time, and have a happy customer. Let
me interrupt you for just a second, just to give you guys context. I don't know if this is entirely true, but there was an example given. There's a few examples given of why there was philosophies about just getting it done, pushing the production line versus like you said, walk the factory floor. So here's the example I was given. In the United States, not anymore, maybe towards the 80s or whatever. The United States, if you were on the factory floor and you go to put the bolt in the car and it doesn't fit, and you tell your supervisor, hey, it doesn't fit, supervisor's going to say, just put it in there, just jam it in. And you say, no, we got to stop the line. So you hit the button, you stop the line, because you already saw a whole bunch of cars where it's not hitting it's on the bad side of the tolerance. And then you're going to get fired in the United States. Okay. I don't know if this is true anymore. Then, and this is just an example, same factory in Japan. Not that they're any better or whatever. It's just that they're using the Deming model, and they're using this new idea. Somebody stops the factory line, says this doesn't fit. They're going to get promoted, or they're going to be rewarded in some way because they found a problem. And then the factory, they're willing to fix it because they know that that's going to lead to better quality, better customers, happy customers. And then the evidence of this was Mazda and Ford, they had a lot of deals together, and they had a transmission that was the same transmission. And the one that came out of Japan was hitting the better side of the tolerance, and the one that came out of the United States was hitting the bad side of the tolerance. They're making it past tolerance, but the ones in Japan were making it past that. We're making it a lot better on the tolerance side. So I don't know if this is true anymore, but there's a philosophy behind it.
So there is, and there's even in software.
Okay.
There's something called agile development.
Okay.
Which is
Agile is like a software, right? It's like a management.
It's a development methodology.
Okay.
Okay. In the factory and in a lot of organizations beyond factories, there's a lot of large organizations have a continuous improvement program.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And Deming was kind of the vanguard of continuous improvement.
Okay.
Okay. And Six Sigma actually is just the bedrock and the operating system, and it feeds into continuous improvement.
Okay.
In the shop.
Right.
Okay. And how that's managed is you bring it. You brought up the polar opposites, right? And there's many degrees in between. Well, no, we can stop production, but we log it. We log this problem. We'll take this part. We'll take this thing off the line. We're not going to stop production. And what is that process behind it? Okay. Mm-hmm. And they'll either log it, and then they'll start through their, for example, 5 whys. Right? Mm. So do you guys know 5 whys? This is something that you need to take this one down.
Okay.
Just do some research on 5 whys. And this is a good learning methodology, I think. So this is especially when you know the problem and you want to have a guided discovery, do the 5 whys.
Toyota's 5 whys.
Yeah. Well, so
we're not going to watch the video, but I'll pull it up.
This is a process of figuring out what's wrong, and in the shop vernacular, being able to do a root cause correction. Root cause correction. Okay. Or root cause corrective action. So 5 whys, you're just saying, why am I having this problem? Okay. And there might be an intermediate answer. And then why did that problem happen?
Right.
Okay. And you go through layers of asking why. Mm-hmm. And you get down to the root cause of the problem. And hopefully at that point you can correct it. If not, you're at least going to log that as a problem and address it later. Mm-hmm. So for manufacturing, I mean, I'm just a software engineer, right?
Yeah.
But I'm curious about all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky that my wife can come home from a factory and instruct me on all of this.
That's cool. Yeah, that's
right?
Cool. Nice.
Yeah. So, and my wife, by the way, is hands-on.
Nice.
So her first job in aerospace, she's a licensed airframe and power plant mechanic.
Wow, no kidding, really? No shit, really.
Yeah, so
That's so funny.
so she worked for
That's great.
she worked for Garrett, which was bought by Honeywell. They make these auxiliary power plants, you know, the jets, the at the rear of the engine to power the electrical.
Oh yeah, they generate power for air conditioning
and some of
power.
them can fly the plane,
Oh wow,
keep the
okay,
plane in the air.
the one at the tail.
Yep, the one at the tail.
Okay.
So she'd build one of those a day.
No way.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, she
I always found it ironic that the shop classes, not anymore, but when I first started, they're never going to put the girls in there. And I found it funny because the most of the guidance counselors are girls, they're women. So it's like, it's just a scheduling problem, and it's really from them. You know, they don't put the girls in there, but the girls are great. Once you get them in the class, they're awesome. And in reality, outside the school, the girls do work on production and they do work in engineering.
in reality, I had a bias for hiring women. I'll admit it, but not for the reason you may think.
No.
I actually found them to be really good employees most of the time.
Wow, no kidding.
So, at least they were a little bit more disciplined in terms of solving problems and working through things. QA was a little better. They were a little bit more particular about things. Guys, definitely.
Well, I say
broadly,
the guys in my shop, they all have a shoulder problem. You know, they're like, "What's going on?" You know, and
Yeah.
you know,
well,
they can't take that criticism. You know,
I love that bravado.
Most of the girls in my classes, I find are they're better with detail orientation.
Yeah.
They tend to want to focus on, you know, being exact and that sort of stuff. They don't want to just slap things together.
Yeah. But there's a space for both, and it depends on what the job is, right? So
nice.
So do you guys have any questions for me? I have a huge background. I'm 30 years at this, and I'm still as curious as ever on everything put in front of me. I want to know how it works, right? And actually I dropped off a resume. We're across the way from EV West, and the top of my resume says at age 17 I was fired from a hardware store for taking apart the tools. Okay, and that curiosity still exists.
That's awesome.
I mean, I take apart new tools, and the owner chewed me out after I had taken 2 or 3 apart and put them back together. He's going, "Why are you doing this?" Because I want to know how they work, and we sell replacement parts. I don't know, I don't know what these parts do. And so anyway, after he said not to do it, I still did it. I got fired. So
good.
I'm still curious.
Nice.
So I'd say you guys have a tough job, and prying, I don't know what your phone policy is, but I can't imagine having to pry phones and media away from kids to, where you want to capture their attention, and at least while they're in the class and doing all that, given your challenges now. And then, oh, by the way, I'm not going to bring up the other thing. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
What
Good.
I've got?
Got any job openings over there?
I work for me. I've been very lucky. I've been self-employed for 22 years.
Oh wow! Even when you work at the company, do you work as a consultant?
On contract.
Wow.
Yeah. And I, following my nose, I mean, sometimes I get interesting calls. Are any of you guys in farm country? So
yeah, Nick.
So 2 years ago, I got a call from a venture capitalist that I knew from Boston. He goes, "Hey, one of my portfolio companies in trouble, and this might have enough technology candy to get you interested. I'm like, okay, what do they do? Well, they use infrared cameras aimed at cows' udders, and they use AI from those streamed images to determine whether or not the cows have mastitis. Okay, so mastitis, just to let you know, okay, these cows go in these big rotaries. They know to get in the rotary.
Okay.
And they are on and off this thing. It takes them 40 seconds to go around in the rotary, and that's when they get milked,
Mhm.
and then they get off on their own.
Okay.
And these rotaries can milk 10,000 cows a day.
Oh my God.
Okay, that's where your milk comes from.
Right.
That's 98% of the milk that you drink comes from that.
Wow.
So all these cows, it's not a matter of if a cow has, or if a dairy cow has mastitis, it's when. Okay,
Okay.
and they manage this.
What's mastitis?
Mastitis is a swelling of their mammary
Uh
or their udders.
huh.
Okay, and it affects milk quality.
Uh
And if it gets bad enough and not untreated, then they lose one of their udders,
oh wow.
and that affects production.
Yeah. Okay.
So they will spend a lot of money on doing this. We had an infrared camera using artificial intelligence, and these other guys had developed it and had a prototype working, but that was it.
Mm-hmm.
It had, and then if we detected mastitis in a dairy cow, we would spray their hind quarter with blue paint.
Okay.
And so the handler would spot them and segregate from the herd, take them to the medical barn and check them out and treat them if need be.
Okay.
All right. So this is one of those really complex problems, right?
Okay.
I mean, you have, first of all, you guys know that a video at 70 frames a second. Okay. HDMI video is a lot of data. We didn't need that much. It was a black and white image that we used AI to reduce it. But we actually had to recognize the udder. Okay, because cows moving like this.
Whoa.
Oh, an udder is coming into view, right? We used AI to recognize.
Oh my God.
AI
Can
to
you imagine?
recognize that we had an udder image, and then we had to analyze that image.
Wow.
And then 2 or 3 stalls down, we'd mark the cow, because then our processing was complete. We'd say, okay, three stalls down, mark the cow.
Wow.
All right. So all of this is done on a tiny little PC, and that had tons of engineering,
Huh.
right?
Wow.
You're in a harsh environment that has to be able to handle hurricane conditions, basically, because they pressure wash everything with detergent.
Okay.
So you have to use stainless steel enclosure. Cows poop. Okay. And so you have to clean the camera lens a lot. Well,
Well, AI.
one company has,
Or you got like a bidet that sprays the camera.
yeah, one company has. We had a timer with a high pressure sprayer on it.
All right.
Okay. And now, now the funny part about this is, from the business end of things, we just went through COVID, right? Did you guys go into any facility that did screening with a camera? Okay, so the same.
Oh yeah, no, my we don't sign in the office anymore. We just put our face in the computer
Well, so
and it
So,
recognizes
in-
it. Yeah,
in
which I
some-
think is kind of an intrusion, but
in some of the hospitals down here,
yeah.
they used infrared cameras, and they would measure the heat on your face and determine whether or not you had a fever.
Yeah, but to
Okay.
be fair, what if you're fighting New Jersey traffic and you're kind of PO'd? No, I'm just joking.
It's true, especially on the parkway.
Yeah, yeah.
So all right, so anyway, you know, we were battling
The
for
cow.
for getting equipment from the infrared device manufacturer in Beaumont, Texas, because they were overwhelmed with requests from hospitals for their detection
Oh, so
system.
you're fighting the same.
We're
the
fighting-
supplier.
We're fighting supply.
Ah,
right. So, we only needed a couple. They saw their way through shipping them, but
Yeah.
I mean, so lots of connectivity all the way going into agriculture.
Uh-huh.
Advanced tech is out there. I'm a really lucky guy. I've had some lovely jobs. And
Uh-huh.
that's a matter of being curious and getting out there and going, hey, what's that do?
Yeah.
Right. And
So how did you solve the cow udder recognition system?
well, so they were broke. Their president spent all their money.
Mm.
And I was left with one person that could give a hell of a presentation.
Mm.
And she grew up on a farm. She knew farms. She could talk to farmers. They didn't have a first customer. They didn't have a profitable business model. And the VC wanted me to go, is this a go?
To bias to supplier. This is a contractor
Well,
that you're
no. So the VC, the venture capitalists who had invested
in the farm.
in this technology,
Oh.
this company had asked me to go in and see whether or not there's a solution, whether or not
Okay.
it was doable, and whether or not, since they were broke, whether or not they could go out and get more money.
Okay.
Okay, so they got little under $1 million. They got a lifeline.
Mm.
They're in their first customer. It'll take them another year and a half to have enough data
Mm.
to be able to build the right data set. But once that's baked,
You need more cows.
once that's baked, that can go into
Oh,
almost any barn.
wow.
And yeah.
That's amazing. So were you helping the tech company or the farm or both?
So we had to be in situ. We
What?
had to be in situ, meaning that we had to take the technology to somebody that would be willing to be the crash test dummy.
Oh, I see.
And ideally, when you're in a startup, this was a startup, you want to gain agreement by the customer that if the solution works, will you pay me for it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Meaning you have to convince them of the value of the solution before you even get there.
Okay.
Okay. And that's sometimes hard to do. And a lot of the first couple of barns said, where's your math? And we go, here's our math so far. And we had test barns in Canada from old data, like 3 or 4 years ago,
Mm.
that wasn't presented right. We fixed that
Mm.
and made it more palatable to answer the hard questions that the farmers have. Because if you know anything about a farmer can calculate numbers in their heads better than anyone else.
Oh, wow. No kidding. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
They know the dollars and cents on their farm because it's a tough business.
Yeah.
They know where the money's coming from and whether or not something's going to cost them too much.
Right.
And you have to present the business case for them anyway to buy the solution.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we gave them a price. They're like, okay, and we have to buy the equipment. Yes, and it's this much. Well, it'll only take me this long to pay off.
Wow,
it off.
that's
And
cool.
they would do the math in their head right there. We knew how long it would take them to pay it off. You have to know that answer, but
Uh-huh.
all of them, they never asked me the question, well, how long would it take? And wait for me to give the answer.
No.
They always calculated
Yeah, because they're gonna
beforehand.
it's
They knew.
their ass on the line.
So we got to that point, had the customer in agreement, put the demo system in. That was enough for us to make investor presentations to gain additional investment to get the company, on its feet.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So interesting projects and following.
Wow.
Interesting projects and following your nose.
Wow. This is wild.
So why do you think I'm across the street? Huh?
What are you doing over there?
We'll find out this fall.
Really?
Probably.
What are you gonna do?
I don't know yet.
You want to work with them?
I will probably work with them.
So you're talking about EV West.
So
EV West is an interesting place. It's like a electric hot rod place.
yeah.
What do you think maybe it's a different conversation, but maybe we won't do it here. But I would like to ask you what you think their biggest problem is and or maybe
I don't know them well enough.
Okay.
And I've tended to stay away from that overarching
Okay.
type of question.
All right.
That's how I've kind of remained Swiss my entire life.
Okay.
So
What
yeah,
problem?
I don't.
What problem do you want to solve? Would maybe be a softer question. That would be for them, I guess.
Well, they're a unique business. They have what you would call, while they're doing EV for performance cars,
Mm-hmm.
they're doing this to scale, right?
Right.
And so, their biggest challenge will always be their core business, which is scaling,
Mm.
right? So how do they pick up and repeat? This is a good connectivity thing on production, right?
Right.
How do you build it to scale? How do you?
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
could build one. I always tell people, it's like you can make one pizza, but imagine if you're trying to be a pizza business or a pizza
So
franchise.
every venture capitalist that you present to, you have a business idea, probably about the third question you're going to get from them is, how are you going to scale this? Okay. I guarantee if they don't ask you, if you haven't already presented to their satisfaction,
Mhm.
how are you going to scale? They're going to ask. You need to have that answer.
Yeah.
Because, they're invested. They want multipliers of their money.
Mhm.
And no, VCs, 1 in 20, for some 1 in 99 are successful, and they've spit out a couple 100,000 to $1 million at a time for 99 companies, and they're going to hit on one. But I guarantee you the question that they're going to have is, how do you scale?
Yeah. Right.
And all of these companies are not going to invest in unless they have a customer.
Mm-hmm.
And you better be looking at the scale question at that first customer. How are we going to get the next and the next 10 or 20? That's a scaling business.
Okay.
So they're going to go, and they've already answered, they've already addressed a lot of questions, through experience.
Right.
And they have a lot of customers with performance cars willing to give their babies to them. And there's a implicit agreement between the two. The customer knows it's not going to be perfect because it's custom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And anyway,
Yeah. Cool.
What I'm going to do, I have no idea.
All right.
I'm open to the experience as long as, and I go back to this, it's fun and interesting.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you guys have questions for me? I'm a weird guy, so I mean, I have a great background. So
if they have no questions, I want to ask you what you think of Arcimoto. But yeah, I don't know. Jump in, guys.
So I was sitting on the beach, right, with a father and son. They're on vacation with us. Now the father is a old school New York union electrician, right? And he's sitting. We're sitting at a tiki, on the beach, and his son has a, like a polo collared shirt on, sitting cross-legged with his Apple iPad in front of him. And the father says to him, "What the heck are you doing on the beach with your iPad?" He says, "Dad, I'm working." He goes, "What do you mean you're working? You're sitting on your butt." He's like, "I'm doing the same thing you did as an electrician, solving problems." And
Right.
he said, "You're sitting on your butt." He goes, "Dad, I'm still doing the same thing, just like you did for all those years, solving problems." So it's you're talking electrician to software engineer, shop teacher in the middle, but we're all trying to solve problems.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, you guys have, all my respect. I gotta tell you, I mean, I'm a little biased, of course. My mom was a school teacher. I I know how hard the job is. I have
Thank you.
I have
Appreciate it.
an appreciation for how hard the job is, and if I have to apologize to all the teachers that I had, I think so. But it's got to be harder than it was back then. I think. I mean, I can't imagine. I don't know.
I don't fight it. I don't fight the phone. I use it as a tool. They have to document their process.
Perfect.
Yeah, I use the camera, and they can hook up to the web, and all my assignments are online. I don't fight it. There's no.
I'm the same. Yeah, I try and get the kids to use their device as much as possible because they don't want to write stuff down. I said, well, take a photo and document what you see in the photo and put it together in your folio. And some of them, they'll stand there and film themselves doing a TikTok, but they won't stand there and film themselves saying, well, today I measured my wood and I cut my wood. And I was like, it'd be so much easier if you did that, guys. So much easier.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Well, so you guys, it sounds like you've solved one problem, right? So now it's just connecting them and, hopefully that they're not swayed by the opportunity to be social media and actually are focusing on what you're actually getting them to do, right? But I mean, if you have to use that as kind of the carrot, so be it, right? So,
Yeah, but they put it on social media on a positive way. We talked about this before in the show. Like that's how we've gotten together through years.
Yeah, this is how I know them all through Instagram.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
We tell the kids, you can have your own personal account, but make a school account. You can make 2 separate accounts. I have my personal account and I have my school account. You post your professional things, and then you have like a running resume. Documentation of things you've done throughout the years.
Jake is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Jake's a panel beater and a killer welder, and his Instagram is his resume, I think.
Yeah, this guy Jake, he's like a metal shaper, and what's really helpful is, man, when I was advertising the class, if he does a repost, forget it. Then 5 people show up, automatically. So
that's how I found your class.
Perfect. Wow.
There it is. Hey, I gotta roll.
This is amazing.
It was fun.
Thank you so much.
I don't get many opportunities to talk about myself. So.
No, but see, that's what it is. It's an underrated topic. I mean, I know Joe Rogan's got all these interesting people, but I'm like, I think the shop teachers talking with industry pros is super valuable. We always get something out of it. I think it's kind of cool. And even though I don't do software engineering, I'm very interested in the connection between the hands-on and the software and the AI and the venture capital and all that stuff. Even though I'm just a shop teacher, I don't have that background, but it's always interesting to me. Bigger picture to me. It's a big picture.
Well, in the beginning, I didn't know there was a big picture.
Yeah.
And I've been fortunate. I'll just say this, that I've had a lot of management jobs. Okay. And I always, in the back of my mind, I've always still felt it was important to stay hands-on. And 7 years ago when I bought it, why I got hands-on, I mean, and full-on hands-on 7-8 years ago when 3D printers came out.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And I'm like, that's really cool. Well, I had to learn doing 3D objects. I had to learn what the hell these files were being created. I had to learn G code. I had to learn, and all of those things ended up paying for me, increasing my understanding, you know, but also, you know, I'd always done some electronics, and I'm like, oh, I already know this. Oh, that's how that works. Oh, I can, it's a Raspberry Pi. It's got Linux. I know Linux. You know, those kind of things, and all that connectivity. I mean, I sometimes wonder if I was just a management wonk.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't lost respect for those people, and I won't. But you know, I kind of think I'm a little better armed
Oh, yeah. Diverse.
for just being a little curious. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
well, thank you guys, and get well.
Yeah, Damien, thanks for joining us, man. You're gonna do it, man. That's cool that you joined us. I appreciate it. And Duke, thanks for coming in. Nick, I'm gonna kill the recording here and walk out. John, thanks a lot, guys. If you hang around for a bit, I'll be right back.
Thank you.
And I'm John Stack on Instagram. There you go.
Oh, okay, perfect.
All right. Don't have much there.